Welcome to another episode of Growing E-Commerce. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Ryan, and with me today is
Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Happy to be here.
Me too. Any small talk on your mind today, Chris? Or are we
Man, I'm always for the big talk. I mean, small talk. Hey, yeah, we can talk about the top you installed.
Oh yeah, that was the next thing. Yeah, let's carry on.
You love it?
It's great. Thanks.
It's great?
Tub and shower, yeah.
I guess you love the top, but I think the children love it more.
Of course. We're getting way off topic here. Because my daughter's phrase is pitchy pachi pokey paki. Can you figure out what this means?
No.
All right, I'll decode.
Enlighten me.
It's a blend of English, German, and baby gibberish.
Nice.
So, yeah.
What does it stand for?
She's saying like splishy, splashy.
Ah, okay.
And then pokey paki is she's saying popo backen. And yeah, so for non-German speakers, this is like a childish way of saying butt cheeks. So it's her way of saying splashing around naked, and for her, it's like a battle cry.
Love it.
Yeah. So,
did you buy the top online? Just out of curiosity?
No,
okay.
Because that was through we ordered that through the plumber.
Okay, got it.
But I buy almost everything online.
Okay.
I'm a loyalist to e-commerce.
That's good.
I do buy almost everything online.
You're a loyalist to e-commerce?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Exactly.
I think there are cases where the good old buying behavior, going into a store, seeing the stuff is still. For me, it's there are still areas where I just don't buy.
Yeah, like if I have to sit on it, like a chair or couch.
By the way, we got a new couch. We bought it online. You can't imagine.
Brave.
Yeah, brave. But it was a good choice.
All right, good.
May I drop the name where we bought it, or is it?
Go for it.
West Wing.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Amazing online shop. Great products. Love it.
Very good.
So, okay. Right. Small talk done. What do we have?
Yes, let's get into it. Do the letters SSOT mean anything to you?
No.
Single source of truth.
Holy. Oh, sorry. Wow.
Are you trying to keep it clean this episode?
Yeah, I try to keep it clean. I almost said, holy shit.
I was going to say how generous of you, but...
Singing. Okay, this is a great topic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's delve into it.
Absolutely. So, here's the thing. Here's something that I've been observing, and maybe you too.
Yes.
I mean, you can even lead us in, but I just feel like the amount of advertisers who are measuring and really optimizing for it based on a data source that is not the ad platform has just been growing and growing and growing over the past years.
For sure.
I don't know. What do you think about this, Chris?
Yes, for sure.
Or give us an example. Do you have an example?
I have a couple of examples.
Sure.
I mean, by the way, this is. I think there's no right or wrong, and it's an opinion here. I'm sharing with you guys, so that's what I want to put on Front Street. But in general, what I see is, and by the way, this is. I'm a very biased person, and this is certainly recency biased. I talked to a couple of decision makers of rather huge online stores, almost enterprise level. And so basically, it's no surprise that these companies look at their own data in the backend, right?
Of course, yeah.
Which is fine, and I think it's good to do so. Where I see just a huge challenge and something which is just not my mind, I can't wrap my mind around it, is you have your data set in the backend, which is reflecting the true impact of your channels. Fair enough. But at the same time, these super advanced retailers take optimizations decisions on the data of the given ad platform.
Yeah.
So for instance, Google, right? PMax. Well, if you try to optimize your PMax revenue based on Google Ads data, but the final evaluation of the PMax impact on your bottom and top line is deferred from some other data set.
Yeah.
For me, and I'm not an operational expert, but for me, this is a breaking point, which I think is not discussed about often enough.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there are out-of-the-box solutions to tackle this. But this lack of data integrity really moves me. I mean, I'm not kidding. It really bothers me because it's not an easy challenge to overcome. And for me, it feels like a fundamental issue.
Yeah.
That's so. There are a couple of examples I can bring up. I don't want to drop any names here, but rather big enterprise level clients have the same issue. There is one data set in the backend they take final decisions on. Operational teams are looking at the ad platform data, like Google Ads, and there is a lack of data integrity. And what the clients always tell us is, yes, they're aware of it, that this data is not matching up. But there is sometimes just no solution for it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a fundamental issue.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I view it in a pretty positive light because I think that these are growing pains. And because if I just think back to several years back, like last click attribution going hard in
good old days.
Yeah, exactly. each kind of channel or platform was its own little silo, and you were optimizing exclusively within those walls. Last click going brrr like a money printer, generating.
And you know what the cool thing was, Mike?
Yeah.
If you added up the revenue of all your platforms, it was 50% higher.
100 at least. Oh man, 100%. All these platforms taking credit for the same purchases and stuff like that. And there's just been maturity, like moving on toward multi-touch attribution,
marketing mix modeling.
Yeah, marketing mix modeling becoming more and more popular last 3-4 years, having kind of a resurgence. And also, like, to me, one of the big inflection points here was when Apple decided to just nerf Meta ads or Facebook ads. Yeah, and I'm referring to iOS. What was it, 14.5, or I can't remember anymore. And ATT, the anti-tracking stuff. So this just broke everyone's meta campaigns and the way that they were measuring, optimizing. And like what happened, there was this gap, and all these tools flooded in, like Triple Whale, Rockerbox, Northbeam. I'm not advocating one or the other, but they're kind of, I called them magic pixels.
Yeah.
But they would help fix your reporting. But then these people, they had this kind of fixed reporting, so it seemed, and then they were advertised, and then they had to take actions in the platform that has no idea of what's going on. There's this disconnect.
That's the point.
And yeah, I mean, we also, similar situation arises with Google. Maybe you have something custom in Floodlight and Search Ads 360 if you use SA 360, and that's kind of harmonized a bit. But yeah, like over time, it's kind of good that we're looking at these other sources of truth. I think that's very positive in a way. But there is kind of a optimization gulf between. So you'll see crazy things like, I need to add like a X percentage multiplier on my in-platform ROAS. Whatever my in-platform ROAS is, I need to set this much higher so that it corresponds to approximately to my backend ROAS. Yeah. And
by the way, this is what's going on sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
And we have pretty smart people at Smart Ecommerce, and for instance, one huge German client. We are working with them, I don't know, almost 10 years, right? It's a trusted and very, very stable relationship. They have a pretty advanced, and we supported this client also setting this up, but they have a pretty advanced understanding of the true impact of each and every channel, within Google, but beyond Google. So also across ad platform for you. Yeah. And this is the data basically our teams are optimizing on. So we get the daily report from the client, and what you brought up now, this is how our teams, so they understood what does it mean if the ROAS in the backend, I don't know, increased by 4% point. What does this mean in terms of translating this whole thing to the Google Ads ecosystem, for instance? I think it's way better to do it like that compared to just relying on the ad platform data. So I'm with you. This is a good thing, but it feels like, man, we're in the year 2025.
Yeah.
It feels so.
It's clunky.
Yes, clunky, and so much interpretation is needed. where I'm like, okay, isn't there something more advanced out there? By the way, one final example I want to bring up. Again, of course, recency biased, but I think it doesn't make it less important. Especially advanced retailers have a pretty established testing mindset, which I love. Your setup should be tested all the time. Is there a new setup which brings you more incrementality? Now, we did a pretty comprehensive PMax test with a client where we basically tested a new setup. It was a cheese split test, and the data within Google Ads was pretty telling. The new setup won by a wide margin.
Yeah.
Now, the fun part is that in backend data, and the data was not supporting the data of the Google Ads platform.
Yeah.
Now we are in advanced and sophisticated discussions with the client. So what are we doing right now? One thing I can only say is the new setup optimized on Google Ads data, the old setup optimized on Google Ads data, and within Google Ads, the new setup is clearly the better choice.
Yeah.
So how much coincidence is it that in the backend the data looks different?
Yeah.
Or is there a pattern? I think it makes it so hard to also take optimization decisions.
Yeah, it's
what I mean?
It's that you can move the needle on one and not see a corresponding
exactly.
move of the
and is
needle.
this a coincidence now? Is it?
Yeah.
I really feel like it's a big issue, big issue. It's a substantial issue. I think it's the right step in the right direction to not rely on the ad platform data because as honest they are, but they claim, of course, probably more revenue to themselves than it actually should be. But this you call it optimization golf. It is an issue.
Yeah, I mean, and I see it. I see this as threatening toward the platforms as well because they are not trusted anymore, and they are not the source of truth. And all this reporting that they build, what is it all good for if no one trusts it or use it or wants to use it?
Yeah, for sure.
And to Meta's defense, after ATT they threw a lot of money at the problem and technology and engineering, and they restored a lot of the fidelity of their tracking and being able to report back what was going on, so that some of these other tools became a little bit less necessary. But on top, I mean, in the intervening time, those tools were well adopted and they earned a lot of trust. And what Meta did, I think, a few months back ago at this point, and I think this could be the way of the future, they've just started integrating with these tools. If they, some of these bigger tools, they just support it. And so that they are closing that gap. Yeah. And Google is not there yet. I think the only case, like if you have, again, SA360 probably is if you have your custom stuff going on.
True that.
But I just, that's why it's no coincidence though that they're both investing in MMM. Like that,
Robin.
Yeah, Robin's been around for a while. Meridian is newer, but they see that if this isn't working at the channel level, if they're not the trusted source, then they need to find the way. So they'll go cross channel. They need to own that conversation because you're probably not using. You probably shouldn't be using like a lot of multiple MMMs. And that's where the conversations between your CMO and your CFO, these are MMM, that's you're owning really the interpretation of what's happening.
I think MMM, marketing mix modeling, I think it has been around the corner for now 2, 3, maybe 4 years. I think it will remain a very, very hot topic.
For sure.
I mean, of course, then again, it's a trust issue because at the end of the day, you have to trust your marketing mix modeling. But I think at least you have a valid single point of truth you can look at. And the MMMs are, of course, trying to figure out these cross-ad platform relations, correlations. I think the MMMs are the again, probably the next step every online retailer should take. Because right now, the issue of looking at the data in the platform, let's say Google or Meta, looking at the same time your backend data, and the data is not matching up, I think this has tactical implications, massive. Because if I was a CMO, I would ask my online marketing performance team lead, okay, dude, you're optimizing on Google Ads data. How are you making sure that this data is really supporting what's happening in real life for us as a company? And if the answer was, yeah, I'm just looking at the data and try to find out correlations, I know, man, it feels clunky and not state of the art.
Yeah, I agree.
But you can see this across all industries and across all sizes.
For sure, it's just a widespread issue.
For sure. Yeah. I think there's no out of the box solution. I think what we can agree on, Mike, is marketing mix modeling is one way to get more clarity into this whole thing.
Yeah, but it's again, that's at a totally different kind of altitude. It's not tactical. It guides your overall spend, and it helps you determine things like your saturation curve and stuff like that. But it's solving for different problems. Multi-touch attribution is falling a bit out of fashion because of its dependence on user level data typically, and I don't know what other alternatives are, but
the ideal scenario honestly would be, because marketing mix modeling, I mean, depending on how granularly you set this up, but marketing mix modeling there are good models out there, and I think they are really understanding the true impact of, let's say, Google PMax versus Meta Advantage Plus. And I think you will get good scenarios presented, like the marketing mix modeling suggests you to spend 20% more of your budget into PMax.
Yeah.
But it's not a tactical advice, right? Because the next question would be, okay, 20% more in PMax.
Yeah.
But in which campaign? How?
Totally. Or it's like, actually, I have open budget. My campaigns aren't spending more right now anyway.
Perfect. So maybe we, I think this last mile experts, like we are, and there are many others out there, I think there has to be more synergies between the strategic marketing mix modeling and the last mile expertise. I think that's the way we have to go. However, it's an issue not talked about enough from my perspective. We can't solve it today, but we brought it up.
Yes, we
did the right thing.
we brought problems, not solutions.
It's so much easier to bring up problems.
I love bringing problems.
Yes. But what I know is the solution of the problem is always the problem of tomorrow. So this is the issue, man.
I don't know what you just said, Chris. You
think about it. Think about it.
Yes, I'm going to think about that. I'm going to think about that with a 6-pack of beer, Chris. I'll tell you that.
Are we allowed to drink a beer in our Christmas episode?
Yeah, I mean, as long as we, company policy, I think we're not supposed to drink before 4 p.m., right?
So we have to take care of, recording the episode after 4.
Yeah.
Then we're allowed to drink in terms of company rules. But
I would not drink a beer for Christmas anyway, Chris. A spiked eggnog is the only proper.
Enough. I'm all in. Let's think about something special. And then we can talk about the quote.
Yeah.
The solution of the problem is the problem of tomorrow. Yeah, okay, let's think about it.
I think it's starting to click for me. But before we go further down that particular rabbit hole,
what's the next topic?
Yeah, I've got something for you, Chris. And it teases a bit out of what we've just been talking about. We're talking about MMM. One of the things that MMM does typically offer, it will help you understand your marginal ROAS per channel.
Okay.
And marginal ROAS is basically the idea of like, what will I get if for the next dollar, euro, pound of ad spend, how much will I get back? And you can plot this and you'll understand that you have a diminishing return curve. It'll flatten out. That's typically what marginal ROAS is used for.
I love the concept, by the way.
Me too. It's very important to know. And because you can always put, actually now I'm going to steal a quote from a guest from way back in the days, and I have to reach back in my mind to get her name. But she said you can always put something in and get something back out.
Yeah.
But the relation.
Yeah. Before we move on, Mike, the concept of marginal ROAS, is it widely adopted within the e-commerce world? And are question A, question B, and are online retailers really looking at that metric? Try to understand, okay, I can get more revenue now, but I buy this revenue at a margin burning rate. What's your take on this?
I think yes, to an extent, because and here now we're referring again to platforms as a source of truth and stuff like that. If you look inside of Google Ads, for example, you'll see like a keyword planner and some other some other tools that do show this curve, and it's Google's estimation of that, and I don't know exactly how they arrive at it. I don't think that they're like slapping a Bayesian algorithm on and putting priors in and stuff like that. It's probably closer to some sort of heuristic, or it might be an average effect or something.
They got better at this, by the way.
Yeah.
Because why I'm asking this?
But otherwise, otherwise you need MMM to really solve for this. And then, now if you're asking how adopted that is, then we're talking about the adoption of MMM.
Okay, fair enough. In general, the concept of marginal ROAS is something, because why I'm bringing this up, it's because what Google has been very, very good at, and we talked about this many times, PMax is performing. So nomen est omen, performance max. It's bringing your performance, it basically hits the ROAS, the target ROAS you put on campaign level.
Yeah.
Mostly, if there's enough numbers velocity, it's slightly, beyond the ROAS target, so it's performing. However, my guess would be that a lot of clients are happy by just hitting the ROAS goal, right? A lot of online retailers are just, okay, my ROAS goal is 8. PMax campaigns is running at 8.3. Everything is A-okay.
Yeah.
Because the marginal ROAS concept is not that visible. And that I don't know if it's that important for the online retailer, as long as the average ROAS is it. I think it's a massive flaw, by the way.
Yeah.
But would you co-sign that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in practice, another way, like people might look at their impression share and see if they can increase it, if they're happy with that, if they want to increase it. But there you'll see these effects exactly kick in, because you don't want to have 100% impression share, because you're far beyond, like at that point you're getting impressions that are no longer
worthless.
Yeah, exactly. And but this is finding the ideal impression share is actually kind of diminishing.
I know what I mean.
It's all related.
I know. Okay.
Yeah, but that's right. People are typically looking at their average ROAS. They want to see they have a target in place, and it's important that the campaign, like daily fluctuations, is of course given, and Google's promise is that they'll fulfill it on a kind of a monthly level. Now.
But you brought up marginal ROAS.
Yeah.
What's going on with Google?
Well, I'm bringing it up because Google has been bringing up marginal ROAS lately. They've taken an interest in it, and their interpretation of it, or what they want to achieve with it, is somehow a bit different, because they're not really talking about that curve. They don't seem particularly interested in that. Their point is that they're trying to build a story here about why cross-network advertising makes sense. So these are campaign types like performance max, demand gen, and actually almost every campaign at this point is cross-network or has the option to be cross-network to some degree or another. And they have some, pretty convincing, at least at face value, some pretty convincing argumentation here. They're talking about, when we were complaining about channel silos earlier, they're saying that if you're looking at each ad network within Google as its own, like, you've got a search campaign for your search, you have shopping for shopping, display for display, and so on, that within these campaigns, there could be valuable conversions lingering just beyond the borders of that little silo, and you're missing them.
Meaning that my next conversion within my search campaign is, let's say on CPA level, is more expensive than this incremental conversion with demand gen.
Exactly. There could be a cheaper conversion somewhere else. And
within Google, of course.
And yeah, exactly. And that you might hit a point where, due to the constraints, like your efficiency constraints with your ROAS target or something, where you can't buy more conversions. Okay. Or if you have a CPA target for whatever the case might be. So
Mike, just to make it clear, because I think it's a fascinating example, and Google is very good at bringing complex topics in a not simple, stupid, but simple, substantial way to the audiences. But just to understand it, let's, for the sake of simplicity, let's talk about CPA. I have a campaign running with a CPA target of, let's say, 6. And Google, and it's a search campaign, and
Yeah.
Google is buying conversions within my CPA target of 6.
Yeah.
And then there might be a conversion, let's say the last conversion with my incremental dollar ad spend, where the CPA would be at 7.
Exactly.
Meaning that conversion is not bought.
Yes.
But there would be a conversion at the CPA of 4 within shopping.
Exactly. Yeah. And they have a table, they compare it to fishing in a bunch of little ponds instead of fishing in the ocean or something like that. And they have a table similar to what you've said, where it's like, okay, I'm buying a conversion on search at $1, at $2, $3, $4. I'm always buying the next cheapest one, but it's getting more expensive. Whereas if I would be using cross network, I'm finding one at $1 on search, $1 on shopping, $1 on display, etc. And they show that in principle, you can end up getting more from this blend. But I guess
there must be an issue, man.
No,
come on.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it.
Let's talk about the problem.
I told you I bring problems, Chris. I'm a problem bringer.
Yes, let's go for it. Today's the episodes of problems, not solutions.
Yeah, that should be my LinkedIn tagline. I bring problems.
I strive in problems.
Yeah, I like to make everything muddy and complicated, and then walk away.
What is the problem, man?
So, I mean, so first off, and so they're saying that PMax, that the bidding logic works like this, that it's going to find you the next cheapest conversion, wherever that might be.
Yeah.
And that's for sure the way that I've understood Meta's advertising to work for years. They've always said that it basically works like that. That is not quite the way I've understood Google to work. Google, my understanding, has been more like they're trying to reach your efficiency on average.
Exactly.
And so every single conversion, they're making a prediction, and it might be a little above or a little below, but on ultimately this thing is going to average out. And not that they are trying to always find the next cheapest conversion.
+1.
And also, like when PMax was launched, I think we maybe talked about it on here before. I've mentioned this a few times in various places. Like, certainly my understanding was that PMax was full funnel or full funnel-ish. And that's why it had display in there and all these other
retargeting.
Yeah. But actually, as we found out, it's very bottom funnel, and that's not the sense. It's actually more remarketing, like you mentioned, just going on in these things.
So we're talking about shopping share of a PMax campaign, even with assets, is 90%?
Well, that's the feed-based share is definitely 90%. But what we see now with the channel performance report is that that's not all. There's a lot of YouTube feed-based ads and a lot of feed-based, and a feed-based Google display ad is basically dynamic remarketing.
But it's rather bottom funnel.
Yeah,
that's what we know.
Yeah, exactly.
But back to your point. So it's full funnelish.
Yeah. So that my understanding was that it was full funnel, and they used to talk a lot about that these channels were playing together like teammates and kind of this multi-touch attribution thing. They talked back then a lot about micro moments and these other nauseating buzzwords, but basically right ad, right moment for the right user. And we'll find that user on any of these channels, and they're all supporting each other. But let's, okay, so the full funnel stuff is gone, but also this sort of teamwork or multi-touch attribution to me is a bit gone, because they're actually sort of describing that these channels in a way are in competition with each other a bit. And maybe it's an oversimplification, but it's the way that they explain it, because actually PMax is going to bid on wherever the next cheapest conversion can be bought. And so
does demand gen.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, like fair enough, I guess. But they also tell us to go easy on them when we look at the PMax channel reporting that they've made available, because they're saying, like, you should understand when you're looking at the ROAS, for example, of one of these other channels like display or YouTube or whatever, that it's
not telling the full picture, not explaining the full picture.
You'll see the average ROAS of that channel, but that could give you the wrong conclusion, because it's not talking about the average ROAS, it's talking about the marginal. So those campaigns were stepping in when no other conversion could have been bought cheaper or stuff like this. But actually, the ROAS on these is often quite bad. And I'm just getting confused here, Chris,
Yeah.
because
Same
if it's really this sort of competition of like,
where's the cheapest
Yeah.
conversion out there in the Google ecosystem, then the segmented view on the ROAS per channel should be a holy grail, right?
Yeah, exactly. They should, the performance should basically hold up there.
For sure.
Because if
But Google is saying,
yeah,
marginal ROAS, yes, but the segmented view on it's not that important. It's not telling the full picture.
Yeah. Like if this multi-touch attribution thing would be in place, I could get behind it, because all right, the performance of this channel doesn't look good, but that's because it's assisting something else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But they're saying no, it's not really full funnel. It's not really multi-touch. It's a bit different than that.
Mm-hmm.
And at least as I interpret it, and maybe Google can tell me that I have it all wrong.
They will, for sure.
Yeah.
The question is who we should trust more. I mean, I for sure. I mean, what I can tell you, Mike, is I think it's very fascinating. And again, we give Google sometimes shit where it's due, but I think Google has done a lot of right things in the last couple of months. We talked about this many times. So shout out to Google. I think they're on the right track again from the perspective of an online marketing expert. You can do a lot of things again, and you more control, more insights, and so forth. I want to put that on Front Street. And this marginal ROAS idea is 100% the right one. We have been preaching about this for the last 10 years, man. Can you remember when the average ROAS is actually not the most advanced way to optimize your campaigns? It's about understanding the marginal ROAS. Yeah. So I think I love it. Yeah. But again, your point, the problem you brought up is Google contradicting itself right there.
Yeah. Like in their example, they are saying like, they look at this single channel where you're getting escalating costs, and even then at a point your volume gets limited. And they propose this alternative view where basically it's the best of both worlds. You're getting more conversion value, more revenue, more conversions, and the efficiency is better too. But if that would be the case, then it shouldn't be a problem to segment it, because it actually looks like these channels are stepping in at a point where you're pretty saturated. They're stepping at a pretty saturated point on the curve. And actually the question arises whether it should have bid for that conversion at all. Exactly. Or if it should have, if the high, like what are the likelihood? I'm sure that there are some conversions on these channels that perform quite well. They're probably existing customers. They're probably dynamic remarketing, stuff like this. And that's why they perform so well. But if that's not the case, I mean, I just, to me, the whole thing doesn't really hold water. I'm not sure what they're trying to tell us.
I know what I mean. From my perspective, again, I'm not that deeply into this whole thing, but my e-commerce understanding would be if this marginal ROAS thing is a real thing. By the way, I would love it, because I think that's the right way to look at every dollar spent you're willing to spend. Fair enough. But then the segmented view of each and every channel you're active in, and the numbers on in that segmented view should be taken up with utmost seriousness. And Google is claiming, don't look at that too much in detail, because it's not telling you. So there is the contradiction. Yeah. However, let's see how this plays out. My question, Mike, would be how this marginal ROAS thing. How do we apply it? Or is it like an optimization tactic, or what? Or is it just a reporting functionality?
No, I mean, they don't. There's not much you can do about it. They're letting you know that is their bidding logic.
Okay, got it.
Exactly. And actually, I would be much more convinced and kind of more satisfied to hear that it's this multi-touch thing that's going on. It would make a lot more sense to me based on what I see. But no, there's nothing particularly actionable that you can get out of that. It's supposed to be their assurance that the system is functioning, that there's a benefit in cross-network. There could be a benefit in cross-network. But I think that it just looks to me, when I look at the numbers, it looks like these other channels appear to be far overshooting like they've gone beyond on that curve where they should have gone. And so it's funny for Google to raise the topic of this curve, because I don't think that it's being applied correctly. So I don't know what's going on, if it's just, because you have to imagine how complicated this auction environment is. And this idea of like the next cheapest conversion, it sort of implies that like you're buying them all through the day, but actually there's all kinds of intraday seasonality.
Yeah.
And it must be orders of magnitude more complex. And so maybe it's a failure to communicate.
It's a hell of a claim. Hell of a claim. I mean, if, like I said, if they can execute on it, then again, the question is, how can you control it as an online retailer? Yeah. But it's a hell of a claim. And again, if that claim, turns out to be true, I think the segmented view on your channel performance is the one thing which should be highly relevant.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's where you probably understand that the best and most sophisticated way what this incremental conversion actually costs you, or what the incremental performance of each and every channel is. That's certainly contradicting. Let's see. I think the message, I mean, we read the same article. Great job here, because it's simple, it's powerful.
Yeah. I think if you spend a couple of minutes reading through it, it's very convincing, but
it's very convincing.
And maybe
but this last paragraph is
it feels a little bit weird. But I think we'll learn more about that soon, and hopefully we can cover this on an upcoming episode, because they will be. Right now, you have to go into single accounts to see this channel performance, and you will now be able to see this at the shell level, the MCC level.
Yeah.
So just to explain that, we have a lot of accounts. We have data for a lot of accounts, and this will allow us to see that from one place. And then we'll be able to look at much more. We can find trends. We can find the fun stuff when you aggregate data. And we'll see, what is the range of outcomes? What is typical? Because right now it's all spot checking.
Of course.
You can't get a picture.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Mike, because man, time flies again. Not just with regards to this episode, but with regards to the whole year. We have now 2 episodes left.
Exactly. We're next will be, we're gonna do a Black Friday recap.
Wow, this will be a big one.
Yeah,
love it. So you will bring some numbers.
I will bring the data.
and then we have a Christmas episode.
Yeah, which we've been teasing for a while now, because we're very festive.
We are festive. We love Christmas, and we'll show up in.
Yeah.
Should we? No. Yeah, with some festive outfits.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. I know Chris is playing. He's playing shy here. He knows exactly. He has a plan.
We will open the marketing budget for festive outfits.
Exactly. And let me just say that episode will be forecast to air on December 23rd, just in time.
Perfect, man. Perfect.
Yeah. I'm looking forward. The reason I'm so excited, Chris, I love Christmas podcasts. I have a playlist just of Christmas episodes of my favorite podcasts.
I love it. I love everything around Christmas, man. Now I'm extremely into the US sports, and the US is doing a lot of things the right way, some things not the right way. It's always a question of perspective. Where they are clearly the best at is the decoration of the studios, man. They sell it just brings the positive vibes. I love it. Yeah. Watching NFL on Sunday now it's a pleasure.
The Austrians get it too, man. There's nothing that beats an Austrian Christmas market. And
you're right.
I had to go to the U.S. Embassy a while back, and so I think it was like November 1st or something. I walked past the Ritz-Carlton on my way in Vienna.
In Vienna,
and
it's solid.
Yeah, it was November 1st, and they had it looked, the Christmas decorations. I was like, guys.
It's November 1st.
Yeah, they went full Mariah. They went full Mariah on that thing. Yeah.
All right, man. So we will try to, I don't know, bring the same energy.
Oh, yeah.
It's called.
We too, dear listener, shall go full Mariah. And if that's not your thing, too bad.
We can't. Yeah, too bad. It's not our fault.
All right.
Time for the outro.
So thank you very much. This has been another episode of Growing E-Commerce, brought to you as always by Smarter E-Commerce, also known as SMEC. You can learn more at smarter-ecommerce.com. And again, if you enjoy this podcast, please do share. Give us a follow, a like, a review. We really appreciate it.
Every single one of them. Mike, it was a pleasure.
Likewise.
Thanks a lot, sir.